Okay, let's get up close and personal with some Cthulhu tentacles here. I've already made rows 1 through 8 of a basic head, so we can get straight into the gaps where we're going to put the tentacles later. And basically we just start out with the chain, single crochet, decrease, and here's where the first gap is going to be. So we chain 2, we skip this one, and then single crochet, and then next, and that makes the gap where the tentacle is going to go. So let's do that again. Tentacle gap 2, done. And a third one, so we have the full set of 3 gaps done. And I'm going to skip ahead and finish up this head so we can get started on making the actual tentacle part of the tentacle. Okay, you might notice that I left the last row of the head undone. This is because I find it's a little easier to stuff the head and then finish the last row, so it's not a tiny hole to get all the stuffing through. Anyway, I'm going to join again to make the first tentacle, and I also have a tutorial with a clearer picture of exactly where each of the stitches is going to go. But basically it doesn't matter where you start the row, just that you have the right number of stitches. So I'm going to start in this corner here, join in with some yarn, and all you have to do is just pull a loop through. That'll get your first loop on the hook. Then you make your chain to start the row. And it's a little tricky to punch through sometimes to get those edge stitches. But there's stitch 1, there's stitch 2, stitch 3, 4, and 5. And then I slip stitch at the beginning of the row to close it. Now the book says to do just 1 row, but a lot of people like the longer tentacles, and I think that they look a little better, so I'm going to go ahead and do another row. You can do however many you want, just keep doing about 5 stitches. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, and a slip stitch to close the row up. Alright, so I'm going to cut my yarn, leave a good sized tail so I can stitch up the end here, make everything look good. Pull it through. I'm going to pull that initial yarn end back into the head here so it's not getting in my way. And to stitch up the end, I like to use a big tapestry needle. This makes it a little easier to avoid splitting the yarn as I stitch. And it's a big eye, so it's fast to thread. And basically I'm just going to whip stitch over the end here to close it up. into the head. Okay, there is your first tentacle, and I will go ahead and quickly add the other two so we have a complete head. Okay, we have a totally complete set of tentacles now. And I will note that if you want to use safety eyes, you'll probably want to put them in at this stage. Otherwise, it's going to be tricky once you've added the stuffing. I usually use eyes that I can sew on or glue on. And you can put those on pretty much at any stage. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and add my stuffing. And you want to add enough to fill it, but not so much that it's bulging out. Otherwise, it's just going to look kind of funny. Let's see. Still a little bit empty. We don't want empty heads. That looks pretty good. Not empty, still has a little bit of squish. So I'm going to go ahead and go back and finish that last row so I can close this fella up. And you want to be a little bit careful not to snag your stuffing while you crochet, otherwise you're going to have little bits of it sticking through your fabric and it just doesn't look good. I sometimes play a little fast and loose with my last set of decreases because this part is going to get stitched over the neck and it's just not going to be visible, so it doesn't have to be but so pretty. Just for a little bit of structural integrity, I'll stitch it closed. But again, it doesn't have to look great. Just, you know, okay. And you can see even with the care that I took, a few little bits of stuffing are sticking out, so I'll go back and pick those out as necessary. And trim my yarn end. Squish it around, make sure the stuffing's even in there. And we have a completed Cthulhu head.